So, hello from the Hill of Tara, and today is the 21st of June, the solstice 2022, and we're at the Mound of Hostages. So this is the site that in 2012 I did the event, the unification of the two lands, and it's here that we connect Egypt and Ireland and the portals of the Mound of Hostages and the Great Pyramid at Giza.
What it was that the guards have changed.
Wow, there you go.
And that those, what would you say, archons, whatever you want to call them,
Yes.
are
Argon.
they're gone, yeah. And what we're seeing is a kind of a dying rattle, if you know what I mean.
There you go.
They're not they don't have any power as such anymore. They're in fact they're gone. It's just that the time delay, you know, coming into the third dimension. This is tied in with the Mayan thing as well. That you know, the 2012 prophecy of the Maya, you know, so everybody was kind of geared through Hollywood and movies and you know,
Yeah.
even a lot of the truth tellers, you know, or the New Age community or whatever, we're saying, you know, the 21st of December 2012, and everybody had this date in mind, you know, that something major was going to happen on the 21st of December 2012. Now, it did for me, in the sense that I was on the Giza Plateau on the 21st of December. But the Giza Plateau was actually closed that day. There was nobody allowed on it, which is weird because it's never closed. They might close down one of the pyramids to do a bit of restoration, but they usually do it after the tourists are gone. They don't do it. And they never closed the whole plateau down. But on the 21st of December, nobody was allowed on the Giza Plateau in 2012. So I was on the roof of the building, of Gouda's building, and, you know, we went to Saqqara that day, actually. But for the sunset later on that evening, I was standing looking at the sunset, and, you know, the sun does this interplay with the pyramids where it kind of slides down the side of one of the pyramids as it's setting, you know. And there was two suns. There was two suns at Giza on the 21st of December 2012. And as I was looking at the two suns, I was going, oh, there's a sun and there's a sun, you know. And as I was observing this, I was being told that this is the 1111 portal. So, numerically, if you add up the numbers in the 21st of December, 21st of the 12th, 2012, if you add up the numbers, you'll get 1111. So if you add, so basically what I was being told was that the 21st of December 2012 was almost like, and this is not exactly accurate, but it was almost like 2 days superimposed over each other. It was a nodal point in a timeline, if you know what I mean. And it was like, say, a fork in the road where you can go one direction or another, you know. And the 21st of December 2012 was just an opening to that. It wasn't that day, if you know what I mean. But that day was a point, a nodal point in time, or a portal in time, like almost 2 days in one, where after that day, everything would go one way or another. And some people went one direction, like think of a fork in the road. Some people took one road and some people took another. So there was like this splitting, you know, of, I suppose you would say, timelines, you know. And between the years 2010 and now 2022, the Mayan never said anything about, you know, everything was going to happen on one day. What they said was we were entering a period of time called, it was the time of no time. So, you know, I said a splitting of the timelines, but at the same time, it's a time of no time. It's a time out of time, almost. What I mean is from 2012 to 2022 has been a time out of time as we know it. It's not. It's hard to explain, but and it's like as we have passed through this time of no time since 2012 to now. It's been, as I said in 2020 in the video I did on Collecta in 2020, I said it was a weighing of the heart, a global weighing of the heart. And what happened in 2020 was a global weighing of the heart, because everybody was faced with the fear of death. Everybody was faced with the opportunity to give their power up and take the gift, if you want to put it that way, that was been offered to cure the thing that
Yes.
happened. And so people either took it or they didn't. You know, that was a choice.
Yeah.
And so by the choices that everybody has made, particularly since 2020, basically it's like the time of no time is now over. And everybody who comes out the other side of this will come out in a very different place to the where they entered. And where you come out is based on all the choices that you've made
Yeah.
in those 10 years between 2012 and 2022. And really, all the dimensions exist inside you. They don't exist outside of you. So really what it is that people who have made, say, the certain choices to evolve onwards and upwards, let's say, they're the ones that will be acknowledging and recognizing now that what they're seeing, even with their physical eyes, although it can't be seen with the physical eyes unless you have the third eye involved.
Yeah,
as well.
exactly.
What they're seeing is what people are calling the new earth, the ascended earth, you know, heaven on earth.
Yeah, what Dolores said, yep.
And, you know, as I've just come back from Egypt and the Great Pyramid, and the work I've been doing since the year 2000, which is 22 years, I've been connecting Egypt and Ireland, and really I've been connecting it all my life, you know, since the motorbike accident, which is what brought me to Egypt in the first place.
Yeah, since you were 14.
14, and that was about the death experience, you know.
Yeah.
And everything in the Egyptian mystery schools, and in the mystery schools really of all the world, and as we're sitting here at Tara, the hill of Tara on the 21st of June 2022, the solstice.
Yeah.
The mystery school at Tara, also, the mystery schools existed all around the world. And the main focus of all the mystery schools was for us to know factually, actually, and beyond any shadow of a doubt that death is not real. That we are eternal, timeless, ageless, infinite consciousness. And that energy now is ever present for everybody to ascend into. It's not that you actually have to do anything, you already are it anyway.
Yeah.
You just need to activate that highest part of yourself. And really everybody has done that in these years between 2010 and 2022. And the thing that I brought back, having worked in the Great Pyramid for those years that I'm talking about, and before even that as well, the overall energy of what was being held there at Giza. And the Great Pyramid is in the direct center of the earth. It's the master crystal in the crystal grid that creates the energy field around the earth. Having worked with the pyramid, you know, as I said, it's the master crystal in the crystal grid that all the ancient sites make up. Over the years since I went in the year 2000 to now, I've seen how the energy has been held at a very low vibration, you know. And doing I suppose it's taken me over the years to realize that I referred to these things that I was having as visions for a long time, you know. And so I would say visions that I had in Egypt, I would refer to them as visions. But, you know, over the years I've realised that it's actually what I'm doing in different dimensions, if you like. It's the work I'm doing in different dimensions. So over the years, and in the timeline of the 3D, it would have been in 2010 when I was shown how to access what's called the halls of Amenti, and how to activate what's referred to as the sphere of Amenti, or what it's referred to in the Emerald Tablets of Thoth is the flower of light and the flower of light, life and flower of light. So I think it's tablet 13 that talks about the deep in the earth's heart lies the flower of light and the flower of life. And so what I'm saying is that exists underneath Giza Plateau, the flower of light and the flower of life. And in the timeline of 2010, I was shown how to open and access the halls of Amenti, how to access the flower of light and the flower of life. And up to then, it was been guarded by what is referred to in the Nag Hammadi text as the archons. And I saw how they actually sit around this crystalline structure, and they guard it, you know, they guard it. They guard its vibration. They make sure it doesn't reach a higher vibration. And the barrier to the third dimension is the speed of light. And the barrier up to which these archons can see or detect any movement is the speed of light. So in order to get out of the third dimension and in order to get past the archons, you've got to be able to go faster than the speed of light. This is not in physical body, of course. And so this in the timeline, in the 3D timeline of 2010, the year 2010, this is when I did this. And I accessed that. I pulled a thread, which is what I was to do. I got past those archons that sit around and guard it. I pulled the thread from the crystalline structure and I reconnected it into the Great Pyramid. I pulled the thread, which I divided in 5, and then I reconnected, because the flower of light and life that those archons guard under the Giza Plateau, there's 5, 6 of those in the Great Pyramid. There's 4 in the air shafts. Actually, there's 7 of them. And there's 1 in the apex also. And so what I was doing when I pulled the thread and flying into the Great Pyramid was I was connecting all those crystalline structures that are in the air shafts and that are in the apex of the Great Pyramid. I was connecting them all back up again. And when I did, I came out of the top of the pyramid as light, as pure light. And the same here at Tara. There's inside the Mound of Hostages, there's almost like a microcosmic crystalline template of the energy grid that surrounds the earth. It's a similar situation to what's under the ground at Giza. And in the 30th of September 2012, I ran an event here at Tara, and it was called the Unification of the Two Lands. And the focus of that event then was to open and reactivate the portal that exists between the Mound of Hostages on the Hill of Tara and the Great Pyramid of Giza. Because the Great Pyramid of Giza, as I said, sits at the direct centre of the earth, and it's the master crystal in the crystal grid system that's made up of all the ancient sites that surround the earth. So the message really that I want to bring back from the Great Pyramid this time, as I said, in 2012, when I pulled that thread, in 2010, sorry, when I pulled the thread from underneath the Giza Plateau and connected it all back into the air shafts. As I did that, all those archons who were sitting around guarding that, and I was shown that these all dress in black. They look like the Nazgul riders from Lord of the Rings, or what you might see as the Grim Reaper.
Yeah.
This is what they look like. And they all sit around cross-legged in a circle, guarding this crystalline structure called the Flower of Light and the Flower of Life. And that structure determines the frequency at which the energy grid resonates around the earth. So their job is just to guard that and make sure that it stays at a low vibration. So all the training of the mystery school initiates, and this is not something, when I say I did this, this is something that every mystery school initiate will do, and would have done, and will do, because it's how you ascend beyond the third dimension. And you have to go through that process of the weighing of the heart to make sure that the heart is full of light.
And the 7 seals.
And the 7 seals, which refer to the 7 chakra and the 7 levels of dimensions or levels of consciousness.
Yeah.
But over the years, I saw in 2010 how, when I pulled that thread, all of those archons who were dressed in black and looked like the Nazgul riders, instantly as I pulled the thread, they stood up and all changed to white. They all turned their back on the circle and moved outwards, and then came up into the King's Chamber and assisted me in reconnecting all the crystalline structures within the pyramid. So over the years, I've seen how it's taken the time, this time between 2010 and 2012, to see the effect of what happened in 2010. So the message I want to give is that the energy of the archons and the energy at which they held the planet and therefore the people is gone. It's gone. It's no longer a power anymore. It's gone. And it has been since, in the 3D timeline, it has been since 2010. It's gone. And what we're seeing now is, as I said, this is the time of no time between the years of 2010 and 2022. It's almost like I don't know. It's like a hall of mirrors that we pass through.
Yeah.
And when we come out the other side, which is now in 2022, as I mentioned earlier, we will all come out in a very different level of consciousness. But for all those who chose, because, you know, the idea of the chosen ones, as we've been told in the Bible, the Israelites were the chosen ones, were God's chosen people. But no, the chosen ones are the ones who choose. They're the ones who choose service to others. They're the ones who choose love. They're the ones who choose the law of one and universal law.
Yeah.
And one thing I notice is that people say you're either in service to self or you're in service to others. Well, actually, you can't be in service to others if you're not in service to self as well. So we need to be both. We need to be in service to self, because if we're not in service to self, then how can we serve others? So, you know, you've got to look after yourself to be able to
So you have to be in balance,
to
basically.
be in balance, or to help anybody else. So really the most important thing and reason for me doing this talk today, and the location, the Hill of Tara,
The Mound of Hostages.
is, as I said, I've been working all my life, I would say, on reconnecting Egypt and Ireland, and in that way remembering and telling people through the work I'm doing how we were all one. You know, we often refer to it as Atlantis, the Atlanteans. So all of those who have chosen through this time, what I want to say is that my last journey to Egypt and in the Great Pyramid, what I was shown clearly, and I've known it, it's just that I was shown it clearly in this last journey, which was in May 2022, that the energy has completely changed. The energy has been very aggressive, and you see that manifest through the actual guards that work inside the Great Pyramid and the people that are on the Giza Plateau, the Egyptians. You see the aggressive energy, they're very aggressive. And I've seen that energy since I got there in the year 2000. But this last journey, the whole energy has changed. And the energy inside the Great Pyramid now is just pure love. It's pure creator consciousness energy. And there were people, or beings, if you'd like to say, whose function is to maintain the energy field. And they would do so by connecting with the crystals, the crystalline structures that are inside all the sites, all the ancient sites around the world. And there's many people that are doing this. There's many people that are doing this work out of body, and they don't know they're doing it.
Yeah.
And they may refer to the things that they see as visions, like I did for a long time. I would say, oh, I had a vision that I did this or I did that. And it took me a long time to realize that they're not visions. It's what I'm actually doing in a different dimension. But what we're moving into the realization of now is that we are everywhere all at the same time. So we're not this the small I that we think we are, that's born, we live, we die, and that's the end of it, you know. We are infinite, eternal energy. We are creator consciousness, and we are all one. We are one creator conscious energy. And we don't actually have to do anything to get there. We don't have to become anything. We already are that. We already are that. We're just beginning to realize, and as I did in a podcast before, I said that when we say the word realize, what we're actually telling ourselves is that we now see something with our real eyes. So what we see through the 3D eyes is the third dimension, the illusion, you know. And that can be described very well like Plato's cave. It's like people, even in a movie theater, they're looking at the screen. They're looking at all the characters on the screen. And all the characters are separate, they're individuals, they're individual lives. But if you were to say to somebody in that movie theater, just change your point of vision, turn around and look. And if you do, you'll see that all the images you're seeing aren't actually happening on the screen. They're in the light that's being projected from the projector room onto the screen. And so that's what we see as our reality. But in truth, we are the light. We are infinite, eternal, creator consciousness. And the Mayan prophecy and the prophecy of really it wasn't a prophecy, it's the wisdom, I should say, of the ancient world and what we might call the Atlanteans, the Lemurians, and all those of the mystery schools, is that this has always existed. It never went anywhere. We just fell away from it. That's the fall.
Yeah.
We fell away from the ability to... It's almost like if somebody... It's a beautiful sunny day and the sun is shining in the sky, but somebody or something blocks the sun and creates a shadow. And so you're looking at the shadow because something is blocking the sun. And that's basically what's happened. It's our ego that blocks our ability to see the light, to see that we are the light. We are the highest consciousness. And over the years of the work that I've done in the Great Pyramid, many things have happened, including in 2017 on the equinox, when I was inside with a group. David Rockefeller died at the time that we were in the Great Pyramid, which I know is another confirmation that this old energy is gone.
Mm.
And I know for the most part, you could be forgiven for saying, well, it doesn't look like it's gone. It looks like it's actually worse than ever, you know. But it's not. It's almost like, you know, it's darkest before the dawn. Well, that's what we're experiencing now. But as I said, the reason for this message today is just to say that directly from the center of the earth and from those beings of light, which is you and you and me and all of us, that old energy, that archon energy is dead. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone. And we now have the ability to be in heaven on earth. Because heaven on earth does not exist outside of yourself. It's within yourself. And the energy now has been held at a much higher frequency. And there are many, many, many beings who are working at this. Who are working at this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like for a long time it wasn't working, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like cymatics, if you're familiar, you know, you put sand on a vibrating plate and introduce a high frequency, and all of a sudden the pile of sand becomes a perfect geometric shape. So even though it takes a long time for the sand to vibrate and become that shape, when it does, it happens instantaneously. So there has been this it took a long time, but it's an instantaneous almost change of energy.
Mm-hmm.
And we're now able to move into this higher frequency. So really, you know, the idea is to realize that we are already all what we're looking to be. We're already there. And the importance of knowing this, you know, a lot of people think maybe this information is not important in the real world or not applicable to the real world, but the importance of knowing this is if everybody knew, if every single person on earth knew that they were infinite, ageless, timeless, would anybody be afraid of death? Could anybody be controlled?
Nope.
Through the fear of death? So you can see how just that knowledge is power. Knowledge is wisdom, and wisdom is power. One within the other, perfecting the whole. That comes from the Emerald Tablets. At least I think it comes from the Emerald Tablets. Maybe it comes from the Kabbalion. But it comes from the Hermetic texts. And that really is, that knowledge is power. Because if everybody understood that knowledge, that we are infinite and ageless and timeless, then nobody would be afraid of death. And what happened in 2020 wouldn't actually have ever happened because nobody would have bought into it.
Mm-hmm.
Why would an infinite being fear death? Mm-hmm. And throughout the ages, everybody has been controlled through the fear of death. And through fear of all descriptions. But as I said, that energy is now dissipated and a higher frequency has been held. So from Tara on the 21st of June on the solstice, from the Tara Mystery School, I'd like to say happy solstice to everybody.
Happy solstice.
So I'd just like to say thank you for having the patience and time to listen to me today. And I hope that what I said and the information that I delivered has brought a newer and higher level of understanding, and that it helps you on your journey.